From Pand Health, I'm Rachel Wexler. Welcome to our show, The Mind Exposed. Every month, we bring to you national experts to explore mental illness and mental wellness. We hope you enjoy this month's episode. We have a great show today. My guest is Jack Foley, Program Director at Bodhi. Can't wait to have a great talk. This month is Men's Health Month, and we are going to get right into it.
So, absolutely. Appreciate you having me on.
Great. Yeah. So, Jack, tell us a little bit about Bodhi and what you guys do.
Absolutely. So, Bodhi is a long-term recovery community in the South Bay of LA. So, we're in Hermosa Beach and Manhattan Beach, and we basically offer a long-term container for young adult males struggling with everything from failure to launch and substance use to a primary mental health house that can be more psychosis-based and whatnot.
So, did you say it was all men?
All men, all men.
How do you guys find a commonality among all the different people you have there? Do you kind of do one thing together?
We do. So a lot of the programming is together, and that's the one, I think, benefit of a long-term container. So someone coming out of a residential or a stabilization and coming to us, they're dealing with a lot of stigma. I'll keep it specifically to like psychosis for this, but coming into a community where one of their peers is 9 months, a year down the process of clinical work, of physical activity, of family work, it's a lot easier transition for them to gain experience from their peers versus an authority figure, a doctor, a therapist like myself. So we really see a lot of that anchoring in and moving forward as a product of, fostering that community-based kind of environment.
So you've got new people entering, people who've been there maybe a year or even more. Do they become kind of mentors to the newer folks?
Correct. And Bodhi's been around 18 years. I've been with Bodhi 11 years. And so we really look at aligning mentors both in the community and outside the community. And so based on what someone's passions are, and we want to expose them to a lot. So whether it's surfing, jiu-jitsu, it could be music, it doesn't have to be physical, it could be art, but really finding out something that kind of lights them up and then aligning them with mentors based on that kind of shared mutual interest.
Doesn't take much. You go to your website, we know right away. Somebody likes to surf, hike,
absolutely,
ski.
A lot of outdoors.
All outdoors. I love the outdoors. So tell me about how you motivate people who may be coming to live with you guys at Bodhi who really don't want to get involved and do anything.
Yeah, that's very common, right? And so really, their peers, are getting them fired up and excited to try these different things. And it's not saying you have to dedicate the rest of your life to surf or jiu-jitsu, but it's just trying different things and seeing what sticks. And so, in the beginning, it's a lot of symptom management, right? So like the focus on the medication and reducing symptoms, but what we really want to focus on is like that reconnecting to movement, reconnecting to physical activity, reconnecting to peers and relationships. And so really emphasizing, getting back to school, work, all the different layers that we kind of focus on.
How many times do you guys have a structured, we're doing surfing or we're going hiking or going to the gym? Is that like a 3 times a week must, or once a week you kind of have something you might want to do?
So in the first phase, it's very structured. So really every day is going to be structured out, and it's going to have 2 physical activities. So one's the gym, and that can look different for different individuals. Some guys are on what they call the executive program, where they're doing sauna, plunge, basketball, and then there's guys who do get into cardio or weightlifting or things of that nature. And then the afternoon activity, Monday through Friday, is more kind of peer driven. So sometimes it could be spike ball at the beach, it could be volleyball, just depending really what they're into. The guys that get into surfing, there's a very cool nonprofit, Waves of Recovery. We have an alumni who started it, and so the ones that want to get into surfing, it's a real easy transition.
So what do you do on rainy days?
Rainy days? Still outside or inside, but we do some experiential trips up to the Sierras every Saturday's an experiential day. So they're getting out of LA, Joshua Tree, Ojai. So
Very
even
cool.
if it's just, it doesn't have to be something super strenuous, but just being outside and in nature has a tremendous power for our guys.
Yeah, that's cool. So, biggest success story. Somebody who came and you were like, this person's not going to move, and totally blew you away.
See, I think, a lot of the biggest success stories to me are the drug-induced psychosis or thought disorder residents, just because a typical substance young adult, a lot of times in the parents or the older generation, it's viewed as a moral decision, right? And so really when these young adults get to us with the drug-induced psychosis or the thought disorder, there's not a lot of hope on the family system side. And so to see then, we've had just last week a resident with thought disorder graduate from Loyola Marymount, being involved in the recovery department, to see them, not necessarily symptom free, everyone's experience is different on what medication does, but to be able to graduate school, hold down employment, live independently, and just kind of the relief in the family, There's one I'm thinking of from years ago that pretty much every year his mom sends me a card, with like a little update.
Is he still working out?
He's still working out. Guys still see him at the gym, but graduated LMU, is working in, for whatever reason, LMU has become a big funnel for Bodhi guys.
Okay.
But graduated from LMU, is holding down employment and living independently.
Okay, so not a personal story on a journey of recovery, but more of an exercise story. Worst activity you guys ever tried with your folks?
So it's funny you say that, because Stefan founded Bodhi Casa, started Bodhi Casa. Him and I are very into, the Yosemite, Mammoth area, ultralight backpacking. So years ago, we probably pushed it a little too hard. I took a group of 4 guys up Mount Whitney, which is the largest peak in the lower 48. We did 12 guys, 120 miles on the John Muir Trail, who were interested in it.
That's serious.
And so now it's more of a base camp model. So we'll go up to Yosemite, guys.
Wait, how many days was that?
It was 4 days, so we were moving. Now it's a little more responsible, I like to say, and not just us pushing our interests of wanting to, do these big hikes and treks. And so it's more a base camp model. We'll go up to Yosemite. We'll set up rock climbing, top ropes.
Do you guys have a tab at REI or something like that?
We have all the gear. The garage is fully stocked for all the experiential.
How cool. So what happens when people are doing great, they're going back to school and or work or both, they're living at Bodhi Casa, are they doing their own thing? How do you keep them tied down and connected to the nature and the exercise that you've built, and helped during that recovery journey?
Yeah, so in our second phase, that's when they add in the layers of school and work, and really from like an activity standpoint, they're still expected, if they're not at school or work, to participate in what's going on in the daily programming, and then they move out usually in groups of 2 or 3 into like an independent living situation.
Okay.
And then we do case management monitoring on the back end. So we're doing a medication.
So you kind of keep people tethered to the program and your team, even as people are moving along successfully in life and reintegrating.
Correct, because, they see when they're early in the program, guys show up for them and, came and took them to dinner or, to play basketball, surf, whatever it may be. And so it's kind of that service-centered mindset of, guys showed up for me, I'm going to continue to come back and show up for them. And it really is like a living, breathing kind of ecosystem that just continues to grow.
Would somebody come to Bodhi Casa after they've gone through, maybe they've been in the hospital for a little bit or residential and then a traditional PHP and IOP, would they then come to Bodhi Casa, or would they go, like, where along that journey is the right time? Yeah,
so typically after some type of hospital stabilization or residential, and then in conjunction, we can work with IOPs. Guys do clinical. So really, we've shifted away from sticking to a one-size-fits-all model. Okay. And so really with every client, it's kind of individualized. What's the clinical team look like? What is the, whether it's using outside support or mentors, I think we're blessed being in LA to really have great clinicians and some of the best psychiatrists, like your husband. And so, we really kind of build out based on the individual. Okay, what's the best level of support? Is it more activity? Is it more clinical work? Is it an outpatient,
Right.
for groups? So it's not really everyone's going to stick to this one plan.
So when you guys move out, just move out maybe as a twosome to an off campus or to an apartment, independent living. Do people stay connected? Is there a social bond people have? Do they get together for coffee, dinners?
They do. So still come over to the house to eat. Guys will probably take advantage of that more than usual, just for like family meal or things of that nature. But then they're also welcome to come on any of our experiential trips. So
Awesome.
most of the time when we do the Mammoth, Yosemite, Sierra trips, there'll be alumni from 3, 6, 15 years.
So the alumni come out and they have a little support system.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to pivot now. It's Men's Health Month.
Mm-hmm.
You guys treat a lot of men. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think if you had to kind of wave your finger in the air? What would be the three main differences or main difference between serious mental illness as it presents in a man versus a woman? And, how do you approach that? And I'll leave that loose for you to answer.
Yeah, I think, men struggle with the stigma, right? And wanting the bravado and, accepting help and treatment and therapy. I'm a therapist myself. I believe in therapy, but there's this apprehension to really lean into the clinical work and the deep, interpersonal work. And so I think, obviously I work mainly with males, so I can't comment as much on women, but I think, there's a lot of stigma, and with social media and life being kind of this highlight reel of, only
For sure.
portraying the good, there's not a lot of place to say I need help or I'm struggling. And so for, guys to be able to come into a community where people are service oriented and service centered and trying to think, what can I do to, help my peer or help someone in the community? It kind of breaks that stigma of, macho, I need to be tough. And
When you talk about social media, it's like, it's easy to fall victim to this because everyone's got a curated life
yes,
online and on social media. And, well, I wasn't invited to that party. Perfect life, perfect kids, perfect this, right? So what do you guys like, not restrict, but do you tell people and counsel people to stay off social media, to limit it? What do you do?
We do. We take a break from it initially. So 90 days with none of it. And that's really just to kind of get a baseline. And
Do you take their laptops away too?
So it's no phone or laptop for the first 90 days.
I love it.
And then we use a monitoring software once they reintroduce it, and that really just helps us look at like time spent. So
how about like, staying up all night on the phone and
that's what
instead of sleeping?
That's what it's really for. Is so okay, you were scrolling till 2 a.m. last night, and really it's not meant to be punitive, and then it's more a conversation, right? So can we work on this without having to put restrictions in place and try and peel back some of the time spent?
See, I read so many stories about chatbots and mental illness, psychosis.
Yeah.
Every day there seems to be a new newspaper article about this person, committed suicide or tried to take somebody else's life, whatever it may be, or did something.
Yeah.
Do you see any of that? Like, do you see your folks on chatbots 24 hours a day? Like, how do you...
I've seen a few guys that are in the later phase of the program and in school, kind of skirt the line of trying to use it for school and learning the hard way that, you need to do your research yourself in school.
But how about like talking to the chatbot like a friend, maybe even falling in love with the chatbot?
I haven't personally had that, but I do have a colleague who's a clinician who, is a therapist himself and really uses chat as, kind of a clinician or coach. So I haven't experienced it myself, but I do know people do use that.
Oh, okay. The stories are kind of like you read them too.
Yeah, I read one specifically on psychosis where it was kind of feeding the psychosis that,
exactly.
telling,
So where the folks who come to live at Bodhi Casa, where are they from? Are they from LA, California, or all over?
All over the U.S. And so, we will have one or two California guys, but we're really drawing on guys, all across the U.S. We work with a lot of therapeutic consultants, and so they do, placement and advise families on different treatment options. And so, for the longest time, there wasn't a lot of options for primary mental health or psychosis that was community-based.
Yeah.
And they would kind of get lumped into the sober living communities or things of that nature. And so that's why we really felt it necessary to kind of differentiate that housing for primary mental health.
So I was just going to ask you, how many houses do you have? 2?
We have 3 houses.
3. Tell me about those.
So 2 are your dual diagnosis, so some substance, but also, underlying mental health struggles. And then 1 that is primary mental health. And the primary mental health house, it's a little slower pacing. So it may be they're on clozaril, clozapine, and struggle early in the mornings. It just wasn't fair to try and group them with the structure of the failure to launch house.
Yeah.
And some guys, with very little substance, this drug-induced psychosis, will want to be in that failure to launch house and do better in that milieu. So it really just depends on the individual and where they're at symptom-wise.
So it
on
allows
medication.
you to individualize the care.
Correct, and a lot of times work with, like I said, we kind of build the treatment team based on the individual, and so it allows us to work with outside providers like PAN, like, different case management companies that may build, a wraparound team, someone who needs mentors.
The right thing
coaching.
for the person.
Correct.
Yeah. And the independent living where people move to, is that all within, a few miles of your houses or all over?
Yeah, so our it's typically close because they've built their community, coming back to the house, all their activity, the gym, surfing, whatever they get into. And so at least for that first year post-treatment, we recommend, moving out in the area, kind of keeping all the structures and layers in place, because transition out is just as important as the initial intervention into treatment. And so I think it's hard for families sometimes to see that because they're out of crisis, but it's so important to have a well thought out continuing care plan to be able to land in independent living and not end up off medication or back in treatment and relapse. So
how do you help the families navigate that transition from full on living at one of the 3 houses to an independent living situation that is still tethered to the program? So there's oversight, but it's still independent living.
Yeah, it's not easy, right? A lot of times I think, if you really step back and take a 30,000-foot view at outcomes, a lot of it is dependent on families' ability to show up when the crisis is over, and show up and still have boundaries when it comes to you're going to still go to therapy, you still need to go to psychiatry. So a lot of our success stories are really, the families that stay engaged and involved and do the work.
They're sort of the unsung heroes in the story in a way.
They are, and it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
I think being able to not just say, okay, here's an apartment, here's a car, carry on with your life, but you still need to have psychiatry, therapy, these different layers in place.
Do you get sticky situations where siblings may have fallen out, people may have fallen out with siblings, there may have been even theft or whatever's gone on in the past, history, let's say. Do you guys work with siblings to sort of reconcile things? Or that's really a bridge too far? That's going to come, but it's going to come in its own time.
We do, but we do the family work, I think, a little different than most programs. So, family therapy tends to be like a buzzword. People want to jump right into it, repair the family system. We think everyone needs to do a little bit of their own work first.
I love that.
So we do a 6-week family group where it's all families from our ecosystem that are, doing a closed container group, and then the guys get into their individual work with therapy and psychiatry. And then at 90 days, we bring together to start doing, family therapy, family work. That could be just parents, that could be siblings, but it gives them a chance to really anchor in and do some work so that when we get to family therapy, it can actually be therapy and bringing something different to the table, hopefully, from a family dynamic perspective.
It's one of our biggest challenges is getting the time right so that all families can attend the
Yeah.
multifamily group, so they can start learning what their own children are learning at our program. Is it the same, or do people show up? No. Is it an issue for you guys? We found it to be a little bit of an issue to get the right timing so all families can show up.
It definitely is, and it has to be something that's fluid, right? I think there's not, you'd be hard pressed to say, okay, every guy's going to be ready for family therapy at 60 days or family group. So it really is up to kind of the individual and where they're at, whereas someone may have done a ton of family work in residential and they're ready to start right away. So I think it's just being kind of fluid with, what it looks like for each individual client. And getting the families to engage as well. There's some families who are willing to do a lot of work on their own, and there's others who have busy lives and aren't really willing to kind of engage in family groups. So,
but that correlates to outcomes
110%. I mean, as much as a lot of families probably don't want to hear it, there really needs to be a parallel process.
Yeah, no, same. We see the same. Yeah. So, if you could talk to our audience and tell us a little bit about what you'd like people to know about Bodhi Casa, like, maybe 3 things, when people might think of you guys, the type of person you can help, and anything else you wish to add about the fun stuff, activities, adventure.
Yeah. You can find us, bodhicasa.com, our website. We're here in the South Bay, but serve clients nationwide. And really any, young adult that needs a longer-term container to kind of relaunch into life, whether it be psychosis, substance abuse, a blend of the two. Our secret sauce really is community. We pride ourselves on partnering with, some of the best clinical services in LA, but that community piece is really what kind of helps guys reconnect and start moving forward. So, yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much, Jack. Take care.
Absolutely.
Bye. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining Pand Health's The Mind Exposed. You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on Spotify or anywhere you get your podcasts. See you next time.